Entitled Mom Calls Cops After I Body Slam Her Son Because He Hit My Autistic Brother, by user C1Firster1K. Okay, so basically I16M took my 10-year-old brother out for the day. Everything was going well until we decided to go get some boba. Now my brother's autism is a bit severe and he tends to just randomly scream here and then. So while we were waiting in line he did just that and scared this kid in front of us who was with his mom. This made him drop his boba. I tried to apologize on my brother's behalf, explained his condition and even offered to pay him for another. The mother though started lashing out and said some seriously fucked up stuff like, "I don't want your money, you should use it for your brother's therapy and he deserves to be in a mental hospital," all because her kid, who was actually like 14 or 15, got scared and dropped his boba. I was about to leave with my brother in disgust when this guy takes a swing at my brother and hits him in the chest. I wasn't gonna do nothing to that and I swore he was about to take another swing, but before that I grabbed him and slammed him on one of the tables. Then the mom started screaming louder than a WW2 siren and told people around that I just assaulted her son, who apparently had anger issues. When I saw her calling the cops I just laughed and went to check on my brother, who was crying and yelling in pain, since nobody ever hit him that hard before. I wasn't worried because the place had cameras and witnesses who clearly saw how demented they were. Fast forward a month, she's now facing a 2K fine and her son was put back on probation. For that kid's safety I hope I never see him again. EP at pool doesn't like a taste of her own medicine, by user Dogalvrinva. When my kids were preschoolers we spent every summer morning at the pool. I had a bag full of toys that I took with us so that they could keep themselves amused. In about the July, a mom and her preschooler started coming to the pool. My kids were cool sharing their toys, since this kid had none with him, until after about 2 weeks, he started demanding my kids' special toys that they were playing with. The entitled mom looks up from her book and starts berating my children for being mean and not sharing. She tells them to give their toys to her son. I reached over and took her book. When she asked me what on earth I was doing, and told me to give it back to her, I responded with her own words. Why was she being so mean? She should share. She lost her mind. I just kept on responding that what is good for adults is good for kids. So if she believes my kids are not entitled to the private use of their own property and are mandated to share with others, then she believes the same goes for her. She couldn't have it both ways. I asked her to choose a way she wanted to live. She packed up in a huff and we never saw her again. Anyone else's parents always volunteering your time, by user 5. This is one thing that I can't stand about my mom. I'm 25 and moved out but live in the same city. Somehow she always manages to volunteer me for errands or services for others. You need someone to pick up grandpa from the airport? Oh, HHHHHHD5 can do it. Someone to look over your resume? HHHHHHD5 will, ask her. Want to go see HHHHHHD5's apartment? She lives right down the street, let's go. No asking me, no giving me any warning beyond maybe 10 minutes, and if I can't do what she's volunteered me for because I have other plans or errands to run, it makes me look like an asshole. I've started putting my foot down, but every time I tell her no she either calls me lazy or she pulls this pitiful look like I'm the worst daughter ever who has just punched her in the face. I tell her no regardless. Now, every time she volunteers me for something, my go-to response is to call her out. Instead of sorry, I can't do that, I let everyone know I'm sorry that, Mom's name, told you I could do this. She didn't check with me first and I do not have the time. It may seem subtle, but now people's frustrations have been directed back on her instead of me. She hates it, but knows I'm right, so any retaliation has been limited to the pitiful look from before. She still hasn't stopped volunteering me though, I just wonder how long it will take for her to learn. Entitled Mother Demand I Sell My Grandfather Farm to Get Half-Sister Out Her Insane 6-Figure Debt, by user Iskriam Pickles. I originally posted this on the Amethyst Hole subreddit where I was voted not the asshole. A few people suggest I should post this here, so I'm giving it a go. My 27M grandfather on my father's side was a rather wealthy man, but the thing is he never flaunted it. The only thing he ever spent a lot of money on was his farm he bought 2 years before I was born. My grandfather bought some land and built a farm on it. Now I call it a farm because he called it that. But it was more of a sanctuary. My grandfather would take in retried farm animals, racehorse, as well as abuse farm animals who were seized from other farms. He also take any animals people want to forfeit or sell him. He loved this farm. He literally gave a name and personality to all his animals. I love the farm place as well. I spent most my summers and weekends and working on the farm to earn a little cash. I became very close with my grandfather. Having lost my father when I was 5, my grandfather became the father figure in my life. With my father gone when my grandfather passed away, he left everything to me. The farm, his money, everything. I was happy and had every intention to keep the farm going. My grandfather loved these animals and I know he want that. The issue here is my mother and half-sister. I have a half-sister, Ella, 30F, who was from a relationship my mother had before she met my dad. From the time Ella was old enough to get a credit card, she started living insanely out of her means. We're talking designer clothes, luxury trips, expensive items, etc. Her husband was no different. He took out multiple loans that he never paid back. 10 years of spending has left my sister and her husband in an incredibly amount of debt. It honestly amazing me, I'm not sure how the hell they spent that much money. This debt has come back to hit them. Last week they got a notice from the bank. It was a last warning. They need to pay or the bank will take their house. They already lost both their cars. So what was family solutions to this? Well, I was over at my mother's house when I was told about the notice. I acted shocked, but I knew that was going to happen eventually. My aunt, who was also there, asked what they plan on doing. I was only half listening until I heard the words come out of my mother's mouth. Well, OP is going sell off the farmland. I swear I got whiplash with how fast my head turned. I immediately asked her what the hell she was talking about. And told her I'm not selling anything. She looked me in the eye and told me that I was. That she was my mother and I do what she says. I repeated that no, I'm not. The farm belonged to me and she had no say in this. She said start yelling about how I had to help my sister out because we're family and I can't just leave her homeless. I told my mother that my sister bad decisions were not mine to clean up. And I left. I've been getting angry calls from my mother, my sister, and my brother-in-law for a week now. Edited. Feel free to use this in a video. Got a few message ask about that, so I figure I put this in. My dad demands my salary, by user Maitamdiashar. Disclaimer. I am not a native English speaker. So, if you find any mistakes in this post, it wasn't deliberate. I genuinely got it wrong. So, please don't point it out. Story. This is a true story. It's about my father. I might sound like a bad person talking about my own parents this way. But, it's true, I'm no angel, and I had a rough life. P.S. If you see me talk about money, it's in INR, $1 INR. To be honest, I had a rough childhood. The relationship between me and my father was really bad. I'm the second child and I have an older sister. Apparently, my dad wanted another daughter. Hence, he started avoiding me from the day I was born. Like, he didn't even show up at the hospital that day, so my mom had to go to the hospital alone, give birth to a baby, and come back home with this new baby, me. He avoided me so much that whenever my family would go shopping, everyone would get something with them. A cloth, toffee, or anything they wanted. I, on the other hand, would not have anything. If I asked for something, he would slap me in the middle of the road / inside the shop and throw a loud tantrum, like I asked him to do something illegal. Let me come clean here. After a few years, after I turned 8 or 9, I did start arguing back. I started to push him to the extremes to make him feel what I felt like. But, he would handle it all the same way, yell at me / slap me. Even until this day, I have social anxiety disorder because of the experiences I had. Not only that, he loved throwing away my stuff. When I was young, I had a hobby of collecting stuff. My oldest memory is of me collecting shells from the beach. He would throw everything away saying that it was worthless. I started collecting stamps and he used all of them to send letters to his friends. I collected coins and he threw them all in the toilet. I collected fossils, not lying. I had fossils. He waited until I filled a full bucket of amber and other kinds of fossils and sent a verification to the archaeological department to verify it. They verified it and said they are original and could get me thousands if I sell them. I didn't want to sell and wanted to collect more. Days later, he took all of it, and threw it away because, and I quote, carrying bones inside the house would bring demons inside. I gave up fighting him at that point. I was around 13 to 15 at the time. I thought that if I could bear a few more years, I could get my own life, with my own rules. When the time came for me to go to college, he wouldn't let me choose my favorite course. I was forced to choose IT, not regretting that, but it wasn't my thing. I just agreed and lived in the hostel. He went abroad for work after that. I thought I could live my life after that. But, he doesn't let go of me that easily. He gave his number to like everyone in my college, my roommates, classmates, professors, etc., and he'd investigate me every day. If I don't respond the way he liked, he'd send my sister, fam favorite, to get my mobile phone and make me realize what it's like to be lonely. After 4 hard years and 1 year of training, I got a nice job in an MNC that I've always looked up to. In Jan this year, I got my first salary. I wanted to have a lot of fun with it, like having good food in a nice restaurant with my friends, going out on a hiking trip, etc. That's when he shows up again, after all these years, giving me everything I wanted. He'd have my food on the plate before I get to the table, the water heater would be on hours before I go to the bathroom for a bath, and stuff like that. My mother, being the kind-hearted angel she is, warns me that he's doing it to get my money and nothing else. And, just like she said, a few days later, my dad comes to me and demands that I send him 3,000 rupees. Like I said before, I was still a trainee. My salary was hardly above 5k. So, I straight up refused to pay him that much. He was working abroad, so I was sure he already had millions in his account and just didn't want to spend his own money. Then the blackmailing starts. My grandma, sister, uncles, and everyone in my fam insisted on me paying my dad because family comes first. So, after a lot of arguments, I decided to take the hard way around. I pay him the 3k, pack my stuff and move out. I remove my dad's name from the nominee and insurance list that my company provides, free healthcare in all major hospitals throughout the world for the employees and 3 family members, which just has my mother's name now. Now, I live alone, just a few minutes away from the main HQ of my company. The story doesn't end there. He called me a few days ago, asking me for another 10k. This time he says no matter how much I get in my salary, I should send him 10k every month. If you're living with your expenses, you know that's impossible. To put that into contrast, I make around 25k a month. The room I live in costs 14.5k/month in rent. Also, there are internet costs, food, tax, and other essentials I should take care of. So, I just decide to ignore him for a few days. I've made up my mind. I'm not paying him a penny after this. Even if it means that the money would save his life, I'll let him die. If the money is for his funeral, I'm going to let his body rot in the open. Like I said, I'm not an angel. I've suffered in life, but that doesn't mean I'm going to help my oppressors and be a good hero. Everyone should own up and pay for what they are worth. So, yes, the money is mine. I'm saving the rest of my money, salary, expenses, up for my future wife, marriage, and kids.